Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. My name is Gabrielle Moyer and I am the Director of Operations at Fundamental Fitness Labs. I also hold a degree in Physical Therapy Assistance from the Penn State University, and I'm a certified personal trainer through the National Academy of Sports Medicine with a specialization in corrective exercise. Fundamental Fitness Labs has partnered with Feed the Mass to achieve our common goal of bringing wellness to the community. Today, we're going to begin by learning about our posture, how to make it ideal, and how to use it to make the rest of our lives even more ideal too. Let's begin. To begin, let's use some household items to help us learn how to align our posture, what that feels like and what it looks like. So, if you find a string and a door frame, you can tape the string to the door frame and have it secured. You can let it hang freely, or like we've done here today, you could put a water bottle at the end to ensure that it is truly straight. After you've done so, turn your body sideways and stand with your string. Now, in the beginning, it may be helpful to have a mirror in front of you so you can not only feel what you're doing, but you can see it too. And then you'll really know what perfect feels like. So, there are 5 points on your body that you will align with this string to know that you are in a perfect posture. Those 5 points are your ear, your shoulder, your hip, your knee, and your ankle. So you can stand next to your string in front of your mirror and play around a little bit. You can wiggle, you can move, you can do one thing at a time. You can say, where's my ankle? Okay, now where's my knee? Now where's my hip, right? We can build from the bottom up and really get to know what this feels like. And then we can take the shoulders and roll them into place. And if you're finding that you're having a hard time placing the shoulders, a deep breath can be really helpful here. So we can, and look at that. The breath almost places the shoulders exactly where they're supposed to go. And then we can align our ear. So now that we're in this position of an ideal aligned posture, let's get to know what it feels like. So when you've looked in the mirror and you say, okay, this is verified, this is great, this is just what I want, stay here for a little bit and see what that not only looks like, but what it feels like. And you can close your eyes and you'll notice you'll start to sway a little bit, and that's okay, because you'll want to get to feel what all these things feel like. Then we can come back in and assess, what are our abs doing? What's the core doing? Is it engaged? What are the glutes? What are the legs? What are the knee and the hip joints doing? Are they engaged? Are they loose? Are they comfortable? What does this feel like? There's no right or wrong answers. It is all individual to you and getting to know, what does alignment feel like? Okay? So after we've done this, you can start progressing. You can take the mirror away and really hone in on, okay, what does this feel like? Do I remember what that alignment felt like, and am I back there? You can start to take the string away, and then you can do it anywhere. You can be on a walk or waiting in line at the grocery store and think to yourself, where's my posture? Should I take my deep breath and send my shoulders back? Can I bring my chin back a little bit? What's my core doing, right? The same questions we asked when we were doing the exercise. What are our hips doing? What are our knees doing? Do we feel stable? Do we feel safe? Do we feel like we have control over what's going to happen as our body shifts? All right? So, now you've made friends with your posture. What do you do with it now? I like to use the analogy of a train on train tracks, and we're the train. The tracks are your posture and your muscles and your alignment, all of the things that we just got to know really well. So, think of it this way. If you're a train and you have to get from point A to point B, what are the things that you would do to make sure that that trip happens safely, effectively, and efficiently? Well, you would service your tracks. You would make sure they're not rusty. You would make sure that they've been built out in their entirety. You would make sure that they're level, that they're made of the proper material, that they're weather resistant, to make sure that there are no obstacles that come up through your journey from point A to point B. Now, let's bring this back to a human. Let's imagine that our train is running on tracks that haven't been serviced. We haven't corrected our forward shoulders. We haven't corrected our neck. We haven't learned engagement in our core or in our legs. And we just don't know what the integrity of our tracks is going to be like for our journey. The things that can happen in those events are your train can crash. It can go off course and someone's going to get hurt and you might never make it to point B. So what can we do proactively to make sure we don't find ourselves in these reactive situations? We service the tracks. We hang our string from the door and we make sure that none of our tracks are rusty. right? And they're all put together, and they're all aligned, and they're all made of strong material that can transport the vehicle that we want to take from point A to point B. And we do all of those things to ensure that every trip our train takes is safe, effective, and efficient. Let's elaborate on what these train crashes could look like in everyday life. Maybe you're like most of us, and you find yourself sitting at a table or a desk for most of your day, whether it's school or work. Oftentimes the result of this is that we end up with a forward head and rounded shoulders. And here's where this crash begins, okay? If I have a forward head and rounded shoulders, that means my back muscles are stretched out and my chest muscles are really tight. So the crash can come in if my train needs to do something in this plane of motion. If I'm stuck here, I don't have full range of motion. So if there's an event up here, all of a sudden I'm in danger because I don't have the range to protect myself or to block something up here because I'm stuck here. This is a train crash, okay? So we have to come back to our alignment and bring all of our 5 points back to be lined up. Okay, now we've serviced our tracks, and look, this crash can't happen anymore because the train tracks are aligned and they have integrity and they can carry my vehicle where it needs to go. In addition to this, if you don't have complete range of motion, you can find yourself leading to injuries. So if we go back to forward head, rounded shoulders, and we need our shoulders to move here, the shoulder is not aligned with this joint, which means by trying to complete motions with malalignment, I'm putting stress on muscles and tendons and ligaments that were never intended to hold that stress. So then we find ourselves with weakened ligaments, weakened tendons, loose or contracted muscles, and general discomfort or an actual injury if something comes for us and we don't have the range or the ability to react to it. Lastly, I want to talk about the difference between posture and form, although they're quite similar. Posture is static. It's when you're not moving. That's where your body is in space. Form is dynamic. It's when you are moving. Maybe you're running, maybe you're walking, maybe you're jumping. Either way, posture and form are things that you get to know really well through learning proprioception. What's proprioception? All that means is that you know where your body is in space. Whether my eyes are closed or opened, or I've got one foot off the ground with my eyes closed and one arm coming up, my proprioception is telling me where my body is in space. So, proprioception, when I'm just standing still, you're probably thinking, what's that have to do with anything? Well, what if I'm standing still outside and a big gush of wind comes? My proprioception tells my body, hey, you've been shoved this way and you need to correct and bring your body back to stability to avoid injury. What about with movement? Maybe I'm running and I come across an icy patch. My proprioception is going to say, hey, you've lost control of your footing, and it's going to trigger my body to realign to make sure I don't fall. Now we can move into some exercises to help us align our body, learn proprioception, and make sure that our train is always on well-maintained tracks. So for our first exercise, we're going to do shoulder rolls. These are imperative to making sure that your posture is aligned, and it's something that you can do no matter where you are. At your desk, watching TV, driving in the car. The world is your oyster with this one. And all you'll do is exactly what it sounds like. So you'll take your shoulders and deep breath in, roll them back, and when you get to the back, I want you to imagine there's a little pen right here where my thumb is, and you're squeezing that pen, and you're holding onto that pen for dear life. And then let it go. So from the side, it'll look like this. And we'll squeeze our pen, and then we can let it go. Now, this can be done whether you're seated or standing. So let me show you what it looks like when you're seated. Make sure to leave yourself a little bit of space between your body and the chair so that you can get the full range of motion. And we'll do the same steps. So we'll take our shoulders with a deep breath, roll them back. We'll pinch our pen back there for a second, and then we'll let it go. And we'll roll through again. And you'll notice by taking that deep breath that it actually aids you in sending your joints into the alignment that they naturally want to be in. Next, we can work on an exercise called Scaption, or a lot of the kids I work with like to call them big V's. So all you do is start here, almost like you're waiting for a gift. Someone's going to give you a gift down here, right? And then you bring it up and make a big V. So as you see, my thumbs go backwards behind me, okay? So we send the thumbs all the way back. And this is similar to those shoulder rolls, right? If I kept my arms down, let's think about the motion of the shoulder roll. We're going back. As we add in Scaption, we're going back. We've just added some range of motion here. The cool thing with these exercises is as you get really, really good at them, and they start to seem like the easiest thing in the world, you can pick up 1 pound or 2 pound weights. Maybe you don't have weights at home. Sometimes I use canned goods or water bottles to add a little bit of resistance to the exercises I'm doing. So imagine you've got weights or a can of green beans, and you can start here and hold them and bring them right up into that same exercise. This is another one that breathing is going to be very helpful for you. So I'll do one without talking and just breathing to show you what that looks like. You see, as I make that big V, I'm also opening up my whole core area here so that my lungs can expand and take all that breath in. This next exercise is called chin tucks, and it's one of my favorites. It's something that I love to do in my car, or when I'm sitting at my desk, or maybe when I'm just watching a movie. This one will really help with the forward head aspect of the forward head rounded shoulders that most of us find ourselves in. It's called a chin tuck. The reason it's so handy to do in a car is because you've got a headrest behind you, which works as a perfect tactile cue to tell you where your head is and to give you a little something to push back on. So you can start in the car if that's easiest for you. You can start up against a wall or on the couch or just with a hand behind your head. But all you're going to do is take your chin from here or here, wherever you might be, wherever you're starting, that's where you are, and bring it back to that place where the ear goes in line with the shoulder, goes in line with the hip, goes in line with the knee, goes in line with the ankle. Something you can do seated, right? I mentioned the car. So if we're seated, and we can again imagine a little resistance right here. Maybe you're driving, I'll show you what that looks like, okay? And we just tuck. Give a little bit of a push to that resistance behind the head and let it go. And then we tuck. Sometimes it's even helpful to take your fingers here and give a little tactile cue to the chin as well. So you can tuck, up and back, okay? And as we do this, keep that string in mind actually. I think what's really helpful with the chin tuck exercise is to imagine that you're a little puppet and you've got a marionette who's pulling your string up and back. And that will put your head in perfect alignment to combat that forward head and rounded shoulders. Next exercise is quite similar to the chin tucks as we're working with the neck and head area, but we're just gonna get a little stretch in. So this can be done seated or standing, whatever you prefer, and we'll just roll the neck. Nice and slow. This is an exercise that I love to do in the morning when I wake up because I find that my head and neck have been in one or maybe a few positions all night that are so far from an ideal posture, but I've got to get ready for the day and have an ideal posture throughout that whole day. So the neck rolls are handy. I like to do these in the shower even sometimes where it's a little bit warmer, but still these are ones that you could do standing, sitting, watching a movie, playing a game when it's not your turn, or when you've just sat up out of bed. Handy exercise to keep in the back pocket. Now, let's revisit the shoulders a little bit, and we'll be sure to incorporate those breaths here again. So this one is just called internal and external rotation. I love to describe it as you're getting a gift and then you're sharing a gift with everyone else. Okay, so as we do this, we'll start here with our hands ready to receive our gift, and we're gonna take a big, deep breath and share our gift, all right? Let's begin. And then as we breathe out, we can come back in and bring back in all the gifts everyone else gave us. So this is another one where as you breathe in, just like those shoulder rolls, I want you to pretend there's a little pen between your shoulder blades, and it's the most valuable pen in the world, so you're holding on to it with dear life. And then we let go, okay? Start with our gift, take a deep breath and share it. Hold that pen there, and then we'll bring it back. Again, notice how by taking a deep breath, I'm aiding the motion in happening because my lungs are filling up and sending my body into the alignment that it naturally wants to be in anyways. I'll show you from the side. So we start here with our gift. Big deep breath in, hold that pen, let the gift go. Now let's try seated. Remember to leave a little bit of space between your body and the back of the chair so that you can get full range of motion. And we'll start here seated with our gift. Big breath and share the gift. Hold that pen. Breathe out and bring your new gifts in. Easy, right? Another fun exercise that you can do no matter where you are is called rainbows. This is also a handy one that as it becomes very easy for you to begin adding small weights to. And it's just what it sounds like. So we're going to start here, almost like we've got spirit fingers. And as we take a deep breath, we're going to build a rainbow with our hands. Okay? It'll look like this. And then exhale as you come back down. All right? Let's try it again. And then we'll exhale as we come back down. This can be a handy tool to continue assessing where your posture is, because if you've not gotten it into alignment, what you'll find is that your rainbow almost becomes like a brim of a hat. Or maybe you're seated a little bit too far back and your rainbow, oh, what is this back here? That's not aligned at all. No, because when we look, is the shoulder aligned with the ear? It's not, it's back here, okay? So rainbows are a handy tool. Maybe you don't have your string with you and you're walking the dog at the park and you want to say, am I aligned? Do a quick rainbow. And if those shoulders line up with those ears, if your hands are meeting in the top here, remember, check in with the core, check in with the legs, the hips, the knees, where are they? You've practiced your posture in front of the mirror with the string. You know what perfect feels like. This is a great way to reassess, and we'll come back in here and maybe even move around a little bit to find that alignment. And then bring it back down. Believe it or not, you can do this seated as well. Let's take a look. Leave some space back here so that you have full range. Check in with the core. What we don't want to do is allow any release just because we've sat down. Okay, so we're seated, but we're still totally responsible for these train tracks being in perfect condition, right? So we'll align everything, make sure we've got core support. We'll start here, and with a deep breath, we're going to make a rainbow. Easy, huh? This one is perfect fun. You, the kiddos, the grandparents, anybody can do this one. We can maybe even all stand in a circle and do it together. I like to call it bring it around town. And we're just going to take our hips, get our feet shoulder width apart so that we've got a stable base of support that we feel confident with. Okay, hands on the hips, and with a breath, let's inhale and just take a circle all the way around. So I got an inhale and an exhale out of that. Now I'm going to go back the other way. All the way around. This one might seem like, this doesn't seem like a lot's going on. What the heck is this one for? But most of us aren't moving in these planes of movement throughout the day. We do a lot of this. We do a lot of this to sit down. But where's this motion coming in our day? And I want you to think about your day and think about how often do you move side to side or make a complete circle, right? It doesn't happen that often, which is where this exercise becomes so imperative and yet so simple and accessible to make sure that you always keep the ability to move in these planes. All right? So we'll remember to do it with our breath, and let's try it one more time. All the way around. Now we're realigned. In addition to this, we've got an exercise called a reverse teapot, and it's a similar idea. We want to make sure that we're comfortable going in these spaces, right? So growing up, we all learned I'm a little teapot, pour me out. We're going to reverse the teapot. So we can keep the hand on the hip if that's a helpful tactile cue for you, and send your teapot all the way up and over and reverse that. And then we can come back down, meet on the hips, send the teapot the other way. And you'll notice a big stretch down throughout the side of your body. You'll notice your core stabilizing to keep you upright. You'll notice that your ankles and your legs and your knees and your hips are all adjusting to what's happening up here to make sure that you are still in control and that your tracks are still serviced and that your train is still moving effectively. Exercises like this seem so simple, but they are so important to train the whole body to continue to work together. And for your proprioceptive awareness, remember, that means just knowing where your body is in space, to be a tool that you can use no matter where you are. So let's try again with breath. A reverse teapot. We'll take hand on the hip, send the teapot over, get that good stretch, and we'll come back. And then we'll go to the other side. And as we go to the other side, I want you to pay attention to your body from your hips down. I want you to think about, what are my toes doing? And you'll notice they're doing something. I want you to think about, what are my feet doing? And you'll notice the right and the left are doing something a little bit different. Okay? Now, let's take those reverse teapots and add a bit more of a stretch to them. So we'll start as we did before, hand on the hip, send the teapot all the way over there. And now we're really thinking about, what are our feet doing, right? Feel your toes, they're doing different things on each side. Feel your ankles, feel your legs, feel your hips, feel your core. It's all working for you right now to keep you upright and to keep you safe. That's pretty cool. So let's progress this exercise. So I'll take my teapot handle and I'll reach up and I'll grab the wrist and I can pull for just a little bit more of a stretch here. And then we can come back to center, let it all out, take a deep breath, and then we'll go to the other side. And then we'll take our teapot handle and get a little bit more action out of that stretch. Bring it back down, and you can shake that all off. You did it. All right, so we've learned a lot of ways to move our body to make sure that we're checking in with our train tracks and ensuring that they have the proper integrity to keep our train moving safely. Now, let's talk about a couple isometrics or exercises that you do and you just hold them for a moment that can help you with your proprioceptive awareness and your ability to stabilize your body. So we're going to talk about core isometrics and glute isometrics, because as we look at the body, any sort of way that you could lose balance, guess who's coming to save you? The core and the glutes. Everything else is attached to there. So we got to know how to control these things to make sure all of these are moving properly. Okay, so let's start with the core isometrics. I want you to imagine you're taking your belly button and you're going to give your spine a little kiss with it. Maybe you call this sucking it in, but there is a little bit of a difference, and I want to point that out. When you suck it in, you're getting rid of a bunch of air. But when you take your belly button and you kiss it to your spine, you're doing a core isometric, which maybe you can't see me doing too well right here, so I challenge you to do it along with me because you'll definitely feel it. So as we take the belly button and give the spine a little kiss, you'll notice your hips will come into a better alignment and you're going to feel control here. Maybe it burns a little bit. Maybe it feels like you're doing an exercise, and that's great. One day that burning is going to go away, so keep it up. Let's do it again. Take the belly button and kiss it to the spine. And did you see my body just raise a little bit there? There's all these little things that we can do that tell our body, hey, we're trying to put you in alignment. And the body says, okay, great, let me help. This is one of them. Now, similar idea with the glutes. These are big muscles that you've got back here that control which way your legs go. The glute's going to help you bring your leg back, right? So imagine, let's go back to that little ice patch that we found. And we're walking, and oh, ice patch sends us one way or another. Core comes in to stabilize, glute comes in to stabilize the legs to try to keep us upright. So this one's real simple. Do you remember how we were holding the pen in place with our shoulder blades? Now let's imagine we're doing that with our behind. So we're going to take it and squeeze it and hold for a second. Again, I know you can't see me doing it, so do it along with me. You'll definitely feel it. You'll even feel it down into the hamstrings a little bit. Okay? And this is a great one to breathe with as well. What we find with isometrics is that sometimes they encourage people to hold their breath. Make sure you're breathing. And that's a fantastic mental cue to keep in your mind as you practice these things. So we can do them seated too. Before we begin, remember, we know what our alignment is supposed to feel like. So let's check in and make sure we're there. Build the proper foundation so that your house never crumbles, right? Or the analogy we used before, service your tracks so your train never crashes. So let's line that up. I've got ears, I've got shoulders, I've got hips. Okay, now I'm good to go. I'm going to take my belly button and kiss it to my spine. And again, you saw me raise up a little bit there. Now we're in alignment. Now my core is tight and controlled, and it can save me if I'm falling or toppling over or anything like that that I need to be stable here to be saved from. Same thing with the glute isometrics, and this one is a little bit easier to see somebody do when they're seated. You'll see me pop up a little bit. as I contract the glutes and get to know them. And this is something you can do, those quick ones like I just did. We can take them and hold for a moment and then release, and hold for a moment and then release. And again, you'll feel this back in the hamstrings a little bit as well. That's perfect. You're training these muscles, you're getting to know them, you're waking them up and saying, good morning, it's time to work. All right? And then we can put those two things together. So let's start from the top. Ears and shoulders and hips aligned. Check, check, check. Let's kiss our belly button to our spine. Oh, we raised up a little bit. Now we're in alignment. And then let's take those glutes. Oh, we pop up just a little bit more. This isn't a position that you'll want to hold for minutes or anything like that, but a couple seconds at a time and then release will let you know what it feels like when all of these muscles are active, when you are consciously controlling them and they're working to keep you safe and stable. The last full exercise we'll do is just a toe touch. So in addition to the forward head and rounded shoulders that a lot of us get from sitting at a desk, we're also sitting down, right? So we get tight hamstrings and tight hip flexors, and oftentimes even our calves can get a little bit tight too. What can we do about that? I have one exercise that is fantastic to hit all of those points, and again, you can do it anywhere, and that's a toe touch. This is one that I would encourage you to begin seated in a chair, and then you can progress to seated on the floor, and then you can progress to standing up when you feel very safe and confident with it. Let's see what that looks like. If we're seated in the chair for the toe touch, make sure to sit on the edge of the chair and allow yourself space to reach for your toes, but where you're still supported by the chair. And you can do this one leg at a time or both legs at a time. I want you to start where it feels comfortable and safe for you, and just keep in mind that there's always space to grow and progress, so wherever you are, that's perfect for you. Let's see what it looks like with one leg. So I would keep one knee, the opposite knee bent, which allows me stability and support. Then, in the leg that is straightened out, I can reach for the toes. And here, I feel a stretch in the hamstring, and I've even got a little bit of a stretch in the back. And then, if we want to take it a little bit further, I can pull the toes up towards me, and we've got a big stretch in the calf now, and you can feel a bit in the hamstrings as well. Now let's try with both legs. So we'll send both legs out, and again, even though we're going to go forward, let's check in with where our posture is here. So let's take an ear with a shoulder and a hip. I've got core control. I've got control of my hips. My legs are straight. Okay, now I'm going to go for my toes. So now we've got this stretch bilaterally or on both sides in the calves, in the hamstrings, and a tiny bit in the back. I can pull the toes and make that stretch even more intense. Now let's see it on the floor. Here, I will safely get down to the floor with both of my legs extended. Again, if you want to start with one leg, just keep the other one bent up here for your support, and we can come down and reach for one leg. We can add to the stretch by pulling the toe back, and then we could also turn the toe out and pull it back. That'll give you a stretch of those medial calf muscles or the ones in the middle. Or we could turn the toe in and stretch it back, and that'll give more of a stretch of the lateral or outside calf muscles. So if you feel pain or tightness in a specific place, you can address that specific place and give it the love that it needs. Now let's see with both legs. So I've got both legs extended, and I'm going to check in and make sure I can roll my shoulders back and take a deep breath. That helps me realign, remember? And I can take my ear to my shoulder, to my hips, check. Let me check in with my core. All right, I've got control here. Now I'm ready to do an exercise. And I reach for my toes. You can hook your hands over the top, or you can hook your hands down to the side. And then as you progress, you could go all the way down, and you'll feel a big stretch in the calves and the hamstrings and in the low back here. You can even hide your face for a while and just think your thoughts away. While you're down here, you can bend the knee a little bit. Maybe you put a pillow or a blanket or a bolster underneath the knee to give it some support here. We'll check in with our posture, do a shoulder roll with a deep breath. Let's take control here. We're safe to exercise. Now we can reach down for our toes or our heels, wherever it feels comfy for you. And you're going to notice now more of a stretch in the low back. Now that we've bent the knees, we're taking the stretch away from the back of the legs and sending it to the low back. And this is somewhere else we can stay. Take a few breaths, let the day go, or start the day. Get ready for what's coming for you. All right, now let's try this standing up. So, feet are shoulder width apart. Let's align the whole chain. We can do that with a deep breath and a shoulder roll, right? Okay, I've got an ear with a shoulder, with a hip, with a knee, with an ankle. I've got core control. I've got hip and glute control. I'm safe to exercise. Now I'm gonna go for my toes. So we can come down and touch the toes. And we're gonna feel a stretch in the calf, a stretch in the hamstring, a little bit of a stretch in the back. You can anchor on the back of your calves here if you want. You can pull yourself a little bit more into it for a deeper stretch. Okay, or you can just reach for the ground right in front of you. Maybe you're not to the point where you can touch the carpet yet. That's okay. You go as far as you can go. So this can be a process where maybe you're right here. But if you feel a stretch right here, then that's perfect for you. Maybe you're all the way through here. And if that's where you feel your stretch, then that's perfect for you. If you would like to try this one with the bent legs to get a little bit of a stretch in your low back, step a little bit farther apart, and I'll show you here. I was about here. Let's get a wider base of support. That's what this is here. This is your base of support. Okay, so a wider base of support. Let's check in with everything. I've got ears. Let's roll it back. With shoulders, with hips, with knees, with ankles. I can leave a slight bend in the knees, and then I can go down here. Here we go. You'll still feel a bit of a stretch in the hamstring. You'll get a little bit of a stretch in the back here. You can kind of put your arms together like a forward fold in yoga if you're familiar with that, and just kind of hang around. And you're going to get that stretch here. You're going to feel it along the entire posterior aspect, or behind you. The back side is your posterior aspect. But you'll feel that whole chain stretch, and you'll feel a good release there. That's going to help you combat. Remember, where are most of us for the day? Here, right? So let's bring it all out. Let's stretch it all out, roll it out, breathe it out. And while we're talking about breath, let's go to the most important piece of everything that I've told you today. Deep, conscious breathing. No matter where you are, no matter who you're with, no matter what you're doing, you can always remember to take a deep and conscious breath. I personally set a reminder in my phone to go off every hour to remind me to check in with my breath. Oftentimes we find ourselves hyper-focused on a task, or talking, or just not paying attention to getting full deep breaths into our body. And it makes a world of a difference. For each of our clients, for myself personally, I recommend that alarm on your phone, or your desk, or your watch. Maybe it's an alarm clock. Maybe you set the timer on the stove. Whatever works for you, to go off to remind you to give yourself 1 minute and to give your body all of the oxygen. So that's what we're going to do. You can be seated, you could be standing, you can be laying down in the backyard when it's raining, whatever suits you. But let's focus on our breath. So for just a moment, we're going to and let that go. And whatever letting that go means to you. Sometimes when I take my deep breaths, I build it all up. I think about, oh, this whole day, I'm letting it go. Okay? You can add your breathing exercises to your other exercises, although they should be there anyways, and still keep a space of their own throughout their day. Or you can do no exercises at all. You can sit totally still and just, all you're thinking about is breath. All you're thinking about is saying, hey body, I see you, and I love you, and I appreciate you. So I'm gonna give you all this oxygen that you need to keep going for me. And we take a breath. And then we let everything that isn't doing those. And then we let everything that isn't serving us go on the way with that exhale. All of these things we've done today were designed for you to have access to. Whether you've got weights or green bean cans, whether you have a chair or a patch of grass, whether you're at work or in the car or at the shopping mall or babysitting the kids. Whatever you're doing, find a moment, realign your train, onto its tracks to make sure that every single day, when you go from point A to point B, that you are safe, effective, and efficient. And on top of that, set an alarm for your breathing exercises so that you make sure that every day you're telling your body, hey, I love you. Please keep going for me. And it will. Thanks for spending this time with me today. I'm Gabrielle Moyer, Director of Operations at Fundamental Fitness Labs.